Hey everybody, welcome once again to Vacation Stream. Have had a beautiful break. Was on the beach today. Reading took place. Posted a picture to my Instagram of what it looks like to read. Most people know what it looks like, but just in case you didn't know, you could see that on my Instagram. We are standing by for Donald Trump, presumably at the top of the hour. And I believe he actually does have sort of a tight schedule today because he's speaking somewhere. He has to leave the White House. So he may actually be close to on time today. I have clips to go through. I have all sorts of different things. I do have some memes to go over with you. I am using, in the world of camera lighting, you've got the velvet glove, which is tweaking the lighting, churning the lighting so that it's the right lighting. And then you have using camera gain. And I'm doing the cheap thing during this vacation, using camera gain. And so as the sun sets, you may see me reach over here. Oh, that's the wrong way. Well, actually, no. As the sun sets, I will add gain. As you can see, I've got all these. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. Look at me right here. Isn't that beautiful? But in any case, I'm using the cheap method. The hammer of lighting rather than the velvet glove. So we're going to be doing that. It's great to see everybody. I see people are sending me messages on Twitch. People want to see some town hall stuff, which I am absolutely going to show you. I've got those things pulled up. Coming in. Addison Adsit Metz says, I was Bernie or bust, but you helped me come around on supporting Biden. Glad to hear that. Let's see what else we've got here. Other messages. Okay, let me get away from super chats briefly because I do have a bunch of stuff to show you guys. I don't know if you saw this, but oh wait, no, I have this on mine. Here it is. So here's CNBC host Jim Cramer calling Nancy Pelosi crazy Nancy. Take a look at this.
I mean, what deal can we have, crazy Nancy? I'm sorry, that was the president. I have such reverence for the office.
Just giga cringe. Oh, God.
Would never use that term, but it is
but you
hard,
just did.
isn't it? Oh, come
but
on.
you just did.
You know
come
what I
on.
mean. You know
I know
what I
what
mean.
you
Come on. And then here was the apology today, which is almost as cringe.
Earlier today, when I talked to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Squawk on the Street,
Squawk.
I made a very stupid comment.
How many syllables are in that?
It was a tongue-in-cheek attempt to make a point about the harsh tone of the negotiations in Washington. But I felt completely flat, and I apologize for that. As I said immediately after the comment, I want to make it clear that I have an incredible amount of respect for both the Speaker and, of course, the office she holds. Earlier today...
It's like it's so not believable. I would respect him more instead of doing such a stupid apology to just go down with the ship. If you know what I mean. I would have preferred to see that because this is just so obviously not genuine and idiotic and something he was forced to do. It's insane. The vegan villainess says via super chat, what do you think about Trump's health aide, Michael Caputo's insane rant on social media about left-wing hit squads? I hope you're enjoying your vacation. Yeah, I actually haven't seen it. I've been paying attention to very, very little. So I haven't seen it, Vegan Villainess, but I will check it out in time for when we are back next week. Also, big thank you to Drugs Not Thugs for 20 for subscribing with Twitch Prime over on Twitch today. Thank you very, very much. Okay, other clips. Let's look at... Before we go on to clips, I don't know if did you guys see my celebration after I got 1 million YouTube subscribers? I don't know if you guys saw this. Check this out. I don't know how many of you guys went to that. It was by invitation only, but I did invite any number of you. And that was a real big party. So we got that. And then here's a pic. I don't know how many of you saw my vacation picture. I'm at Weekend with Bernie. And as you can see, producer Pat is here. I'm here wearing my prepper headlamp. So I've got everything I need here. And we are with Bernie. No, this is a fake vacation picture, but I did post. Let me see how many it is. two vacation pictures over on my Instagram. So that is going on. And of course, we're all just joking around here and we're just waiting for Donald Trump at the top of the hour. Okay, let's look at a couple of the clips from the Trump town hall. We also have Biden stuff that we can look at, but let me first look at the Trump town hall. Let's see here. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I think I want to start with Trump. Actually, no, I have the clip. I want to start with Trump blaming Biden. Where is that? Here it is. Trump tries to blame Joe Biden for not implementing a national mask mandate, despite the fact that Trump is president. Look at this.
Proven to lessen the spread of COVID. Why don't you support a mandate for national mask wearing? And why don't you wear a mask more often?
Well, I do wear them when I have to and when I'm in hospitals and other locations. But
right.
I will say this. They said at the Democrat convention they're going to do a national mandate.
That's if Biden wins, if they are in power.
Never did it because they've checked out and they didn't do it. And a good question is you ask, like Joe Biden, they said, we're going to do a national mandate on masks.
He's called on all governors to have them. It is a state responsibility.
No, but he didn't do it. I mean, he never.
He's not the president. I did check out my YouTube clip from a couple of weeks ago called Trump is running as if he's not president. And I don't know if it's going to work. I saw some tweets from some people I respect earlier today saying it's not going to work. I think that there's enough stupid people in this country that it could work, sadly.
Did it. Now, there is a lot of people don't want to wear masks. There are a lot of people think the masks are not good. And there are a lot of people.
What does that even mean, that a mask is not good?
That, as an example,
who are those people?
I'll tell you who those people are. Waiters, they come over and they serve you and they have a mask. And I saw it the other day where they were serving me. And they're playing with a mask. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying what happens. They're playing with a mask. So the mask is over and they're touching it. And then they're touching the plate. That can't be good. There are a lot of people. If you look at Dr. Fauci's original statement, you look at a lot of people, CDC, you look at a lot of people's.
Anyway, I think you guys get the picture. It's completely and totally idiotic. Let's see. Let's just we'll pick a random one.
President Obama were president. If Hillary Clinton never got in, that would be a war. We would have a war, probably a nuclear war with North Korea.
We obviously would not. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, nuclear weapons against North Korea. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Let's see. What else do we have here? Here's one about the healthcare platform. This is a good one.
3 weeks. You promised an executive order on pre-existing.
I have it already.
But you've been trying to strike down pre-existing conditions.
I have it already, and it's a much better plan for you, and it's a much better plan. And
what is it?
You say Obamacare. I got rid of the individual mandate, which is the worst part of Obamacare.
You're striking down.
It's sort of like the part that makes it work.
The whole law
wouldn't pertain to you, but it pertained to a lot of people where they were going literally bust because they didn't want to have health insurance, and
people were going bust.
Paying for it anyway, and it was no good. Obamacare was a disaster. Obamacare is too expensive. The premiums are too high. It's a total.
Now, what's of course hilarious is that all of these problems get worse if you get rid of the mandate. The mandate is needed to subsidize all of those things. It all gets, the problems he's identifying get worse.
Disaster. You're going to have new health care, and the pre-existing condition aspect of it will always be in my plan, and I've said that loud and clear.
But you haven't come up with it.
And we got rid of the individual mandate, which essentially ended Obama.
Remember, he already mentioned that.
Obamacare, and I had a decision
only
to make.
Because you're arguing
George,
for it.
I had a decision to make. Do I run? We gutted out the worst parts of Obamacare. Now I have to make this decision.
He didn't understand. He didn't gut Obamacare. He's just trying to make it financially insolvent. He's gotten rid of nothing in Obamacare other than the mechanism that makes it financially viable. It's beyond delusional.
3 years ago. Do we run Obamacare well and do a good job and do the best, even though it's never going to be very good?
What?
Or do we let it run badly? Probably letting it run badly would have been a better political decision, but I couldn't do that.
But this is just complete idiocy. And then here Donald Trump tries to explain why he only sees himself as president of red states. And it goes very poorly.
But they know exactly where I stand. What they want is a bailout of Democrat-run states that are doing poorly. And, you know, I don't think this is the right way to go.
Why do you keep talking about Democrat states and Democrat states? They're American states and American states.
Democrat-run states are the ones that are doing badly, George. If you look at New York, if you look at Illinois...
Now, of course, you guys, I know you guys know this, but in case there's any trolls in the chat, the places that didn't do well early didn't do well because they were hit early before we even knew what was going on, understand? And, of course, over time, what we've figured out is that the policies are actually, once the virus was widespread in the entire country, it wasn't about which states have direct flights to places that were early hotspots of infection dissemination. Policy matters, and things have very much reversed, as you all know, of course.
If you look at a lot of different places, they're doing poorly, and cities, in particular cities. I mean, these cities are being run so poorly.
Don't you have a responsibility for those states and cities as well?
Debt, but largely because of the crime. They don't want to do anything about crime. Sanctuary cities, they have sanctuary cities where they're protecting criminals. They have things that the Republicans don't have.
Okay, and then lastly, here is a Kafka-esque moment. I don't know of any. I'm rewatching Breaking Bad is one of the things I'm doing on vacation. Here is a Kafka-esque moment. I won't even introduce it. I'm just going to play it for you.
Equality, which I agree with you is a problem. I always agreed with that. But if you look under President Obama and Biden, the income inequality was phenomenal. It was record-setting. It's
getting worse now.
Well, we're talking about a plague coming in. Before the plague, we were doing very well. Now we will soon be doing well again because we're going to have a fantastic third quarter. Quality, which I agree with you, is
it's truly beyond explanation. It's beyond comprehension. It's like nothing that we have seen, really ever. It's just incredible. Thank you to Trifton, the Strawberry Rodeo, J Phil, and Gabby Cast for subscribing over on Twitch. I do have a bunch of super chats to get to here, but before we do that, I want to say a big thank you to Randy Burton. Randy is new member number 1 today at joinpacman.com. And you can see, even when I travel, I bring this blue bar with me. You never want to leave home without the blue bar above your head. And even when I'm at restaurants, that thing is above my head, 1 out of 25. And we will keep an eye on that. And as people sign up, that is going to grow, is my prediction. Let's see some other super chats coming in. Danny Thompson asks, how many straw man statements will the straw-haired man state today? Many. Norwegian Trad Archer says, could this election in a worst case end up in a civilian war in the United States? I don't believe that that's going to happen. At first, Arola says, at first I wondered if Biden did a debate, if that would be awful. Today I have realized Trump couldn't convince a toddler to eat ice cream. No, you're bringing up something really important, which is before the Bernie Biden debate, you had a bunch of people who were like insisting that Biden wasn't going to be able to put together a sentence, that it was just going to be terrible for Biden. And of course it didn't happen. It was fine for Biden, and Biden went on to win the primary very easily. There are people with the exact same expectation for the Trump-Biden debates, that Biden's going to be incoherent, he'll be unable to put together a sentence, all of this stuff. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be like that at all. Now, it's certainly possible that either candidate does poorly in terms of material, in terms of subject matter. That's certainly possible. But the idea that, Biden's going to be unable to put together a sentence, if you're waiting for that, I would my breath. You're going to be very, 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 very disappointed indeed. Okay. Other super chats that are coming in. Am I stuck at a million subscribers? Come on, guys. So here's what happens on YouTube. When you get to 1 million subscribers, the public numbers only start updating every 10,000 instead of every 1,000. So whereas before they would update, like when we went from 996 to 997, now we will not see an update until we get to 1,010,000 subscribers. Okay. And right now we're at 1,006,000. So it's everybody relax. We're still up 1,500 to 2,000 subscribers a day. But we're just it's a different game. You get to 1 million, it's a different game. But now what we really want to do is get to 50,000 followers on Twitch. We're just shy of that, and we're going to work very, very hard to get to that. Speaking of which, thanks to DinosaurCal for subscribing for 14 months on Twitch, which I very much appreciate. Other super chats continue to come in. Dominic Richardson says, remember that cringe 2016 Trumpist talking point about how he would be fine because his children are so good? Wonder what happened to that. Yeah, I don't even remember that. I don't remember that. Lisa says, thanks for hanging with us during your vacation. We miss you. How sad are we? Enjoy the rest of the week. Yeah, it's been great. So for people who have been emailing me saying, David, there's no podcast today. There's an error. There's a problem on your no podcast. We're just on vacation, and I said I would pop in and do 2 or 3 streams during some downtime. Had a great day at the beach today. I've been reading. I've been doing all sorts of things, and we've got a little time before folks reconvene for dinner in a couple of hours. So we are going to we're just streaming. That's what we're doing. I do want to say thank you to Joshua Burnett. Joshua Burnett is new member number 2 today at joinpacman.com. For people saying that my stream is having a problem, I'm doing the best I can with the internet connection I have. And for people saying turn down the resolution on Twitch, I have no ability to do that. I am merely an affiliate, and Twitch determines what various resolutions my stream is available at. I have no control over that whatsoever. I very much apologize for that. Okay, let's see what other super chats are coming in. Zachary says, David, your internet cut out earlier. What did you have to say about my earlier super chat about vaccines? Yeah, Dr. Redfield's comment about masks versus vaccines. It's not masks versus vaccines. It's one serves one purpose, which is to prevent spread when we don't have a vaccine. The vaccine, of course, is meant to start getting us back to normal. And that they are two completely different things. And the idea of saying one is more important or less important than the other, that's not the analysis I would make, my friends. Not the analysis I would make. Sean H. says, rewatching Breaking Bad, the greatest of all time of television. You have impeccable taste, sir. Do you have a favorite episode? I don't have a favorite Breaking Bad episode, but I think my favorite seasons are the ones that involve all of the, I guess I would say seasons 3 and 4 might be my favorite. The Gustavo Fring seasons in general, I think, are probably the best. You know, I have to admit, the very end of Breaking Bad was good, but there was a moment there with the Todd stuff and Todd's uncle where it started to seem a little bit forced to me. Like those were not, they seemed a little bit like crowbarred in storylines. So, yeah, that I think was maybe my less compelling. That was the least compelling moment of that. Okay, let's see. So I'm being told that Trump may have delayed this. Let's take a look at that. We do have Trump's official calendar ready to go at any time. I'm not seeing a delay yet, but let's see if Trump tweeted about it. Sometimes Trump tweets about the delays. 5:45. Okay, yeah, so there is a little bit of a delay. That's okay. I do wonder if maybe I would be able to get... Is anybody know if Destiny is streaming? Because I would be open to the idea of talking to Destiny right now and see if we can hash out some of those we've been having. Let me get logged in and see what's going on. I know that there's been a lot of urgency, so to speak, for me to speak to Stephen Kenneth, and I am glad to try to do that. He's streaming right now. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can get logged in here. All right. Just getting on Discord here. Telling Discord that I'm not a robot. Oh, now I've got to click on all of the images with crosswalks. Can you imagine? All right. So that was not the right password. Let's see here. Could be a little difficult to get in here. Okay, new login location. Wow, everything's going. I think I should be able to do it Verify my login. Very good. Okay, good. All right. We are in almost. All right. And let's see. Yeah, I think people will be interested in this. Let's see if he's around. Hey, you want to catch up real quick? All right, let's see if we can get Steven going here. I think it would be interesting just to get it to get everything set up. And if you're standing by, we are waiting for a Trump press briefing in about 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Let's see here. All right, Steven says he's good. Let's see. Let's start a voice call here. Microphone to share. Steven?
Hey, what?
Whoa, hold on a second. Let's see if we can get this. So output device is default, input is microphone array. Can you hear me, Steven?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Dude, I have to tell you, people have been going crazy wanting us to talk because there's people who are worried about you. There's people who are worried about me because I know you. Like, are you able to catch up?
Yeah, I'm always. I stream 10 hours a day. I can catch up whenever you want, bud.
Oh, all right. So listen, I mean, first and foremost, the catalyst for everything that I think has gone down were your comments related to the thing in Kenosha. Now, I want to be careful about, let's not say anything that could get anybody in trouble, because it seems like this was the source of some of the problems. But is that the catalyst that people are referring to and that people are worried about you regarding?
I don't know who's worried about me, but yeah, that was definitely the inciting incident for sure.
And have you been departnered by Twitch? Is that accurate?
Yep, I'm gonna start duo streaming on YouTube now.
And what does it mean exactly to be departnered?
You lose all the features that partners or affiliates have on the site, and you can no longer have subscribers or run commercials.
Okay, all right. I don't know much about that because I'm not a partner. So you are not banned from Twitch. You're on Twitch right now.
Yeah, for now I'm not banned. Hopefully that maintains it.
But I mean, as we speak, you're streaming on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are you doing okay in like as a person, or is there anything there that we should be worried about?
I mean, I think I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not like, people are acting like you're despondent or that you're cutting people out. There was something about a guy named Vaush that I guess you have had some kind of falling out with.
I'm trying to like avoid talking to, like, I complained about this last time. I don't know how I keep getting sucked back into this, but I'm trying to avoid talking to like socialists and communists online. It's bad for my business, it's bad for my mental health, and it's a waste of time. But I keep getting like sucked back in by like terminally online people, so that's what I'm trying to avoid.
And is that related to the departnering in some way?
A little bit. I think that those communities were largely involved in like spam reporting my shit and everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so, I mean, listen, I want to be careful. It sounds like from what I've heard, you and I may have a difference of opinion on what happened in Kenosha, but I think that you know, one of the things I'm having a problem with is there seem to be a lot of people demanding that denouncings take place, like that I denounce you or that you denounce the left or whatever. And I think that's not great.
Yeah, maybe, sure.
All right. And so from in terms of what happened in Kenosha, I mean, are you a gun guy, or what is going on?
I'm a huge self-defense guy.
Okay. Meaning what? Oh boy, I think I lost you there briefly.
Oh boy.
Oh no,
Can you hear
you're
me?
back.
Hello?
You're back. Yeah, you're pristine now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to defend your property or your home or your livelihood or your life with firearms, I think in the United States you have every right to do so. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, no,
I don't
so
think you should demand that
you
somebody has to
recognize the
retreat
Second
from their
Amendment
property,
exists.
What?
You recognize the Second Amendment exists.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't really think it's not so much like a Second Amendment thing to me. This is more like a moral question. I mean, I guess the Second Amendment does exist, but I don't really care much about it. I don't know if it influences my behavior or my thinking on this one way or another. But
And then when it came to, I mean, again, we're going to be real careful here, but when it came to the Kenosha situation, did you find it problematic at all? Or let's speak hypothetically in order to maybe keep it cleaner. If someone crosses state lines, is given a gun they're not old enough to legally have, and then gets involved in a confrontation in which, in a brief moment, one could argue they were in danger, are they in any way responsible for their own actions?
You're responsible for the action of, hypothetically, of crossing a state line and getting a firearm illegally, sure, but you're not responsible for like, or in terms of like, you could still have a justified case of self-defense, of course.
So, like for example,
So,
with
for
the,
instance, let's say that a woman sneaks into a bar underage. Let's say she's 18, she's supposed to be 21. She has a fake ID and she lies to get in. I don't think that once she gets in, if a man were to try to,
sorry, you don't think a man, you cut out there. You don't think a man, if a man tried what?
anyway, yeah, am I cutting out?
You did, but I'm guessing you were saying it would be reasonable for a man to assume that that woman is 21, right?
No. Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If a person were to go into a bar they weren't allowed to go into,
Yep.
and once they were in that bar, somebody tries to assault that person, and then they were to defend themselves from that assault, say with a gun, I don't think I would say, well, listen, you were 18, you shouldn't have even been in there, so that self-defense was unjustified. These are two separate things. You can be wrong in that you shouldn't have been in that place at all. You shouldn't have gone into the bar, but it doesn't mean that the self-defense was unjustified. These are two separate, like, disparate issues or whatever.
So do you remember that entire George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin thing? You remember that one in Florida, George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin? Oh man, Steven, you know what? I don't know if our connection's holding up. I don't know if it's good enough to do this in real time.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so you remember the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman thing that happened in Florida a few years ago?
Yep.
So when one of the key things there was that the entire thing was focused on, did George Zimmerman really fear for his life? And of course, that all came after George Zimmerman multiple times decided to create a confrontation with Trayvon Martin. Was that pretext relevant in your mind? Oh, man. Oh, boy, this is bad.
Not Trayvon, I meant Zimmerman. Oh, God, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I got you. I got your back.
Okay. Zimmerman aggressively pursued Trayvon over and over and over again, past Trayvon threatening any particular thing. My understanding is that confrontation, like, ultimately ended up with Trayvon dead in the street, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. If Trayvon would have been like breaking into Zimmerman's house or something, then I would view that case to be more analogous. But my understanding is that Zimmerman was literally chasing Trayvon through like the neighborhood, and like eventually they had a confrontation out in the street where Trayvon could have had like a legitimate use of self-defense if he thought Zimmerman was attacking him, and then Zimmerman ended up killing him or murdering him, I guess you say.
Isn't crossing state lines and illegally taking up guns at least somewhat equivalent to what George Zimmerman did there?
Do you think that if somebody illegally crosses state lines and has a gun with them, that if somebody tries to kill them, they have to die?
No, but that's not even what happened. He didn't even bring the gun.
Exactly.
In other words, he crossed state lines and then was given a gun. Why was he
him crossing state lines and giving a gun? That has nothing to do with whether or not it was a legitimate use of self-defense on a moral level. Just because you're in a place you're not supposed to be doesn't mean you give up all rights to defend yourself. You can still make the mistake of being somewhere you're not supposed to. That's wrong.
But that doesn't make the guy a hero the way the
right
right is making him to be, right?
I never said he's a hero. The kid's a fucking moron. Why
Okay.
the fuck would you go to somebody else's business and protect him? Yeah. I'm not talking about whether or not he's a fucking hero. I'm just saying that, like,
listen,
I can go somewhere. I can go somewhere illegally where I shouldn't be and even have a gun with me, maybe that I shouldn't be allowed to have. And somebody could come out of nowhere and try to kill me, and I could defend myself and end up killing them.
Right.
And that could still be, I could be fine within my rights to do that.
Yeah.
But like,
no,
I actually,
we might agree. I actually think that on in two counts, I think that some clever lawyers may actually be able to get an acquittal. I don't disagree with you on that. We might actually be on the same page as far as that goes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think him being there is dumb. And then if he like is carrying a weapon illegally or whatever, then that's also dumb as well. But the idea that the thing is that like this is lagging a lot. Unfortunately, most people don't engage in this conversation in good faith anymore. I don't know if it's brain rot or people are too ideologically driven, but the idea that a person who's in a place that they're not supposed to be in has to automatically die if somebody tries to attack them and forfeits the right to defend themselves. Nobody truly believes that. Even people that say they do, they don't actually believe that. And I would give the underage girl sneaking into a bar as my example every time for that. That if a girl goes into a bar that she's not allowed in and she carries like a knife with her to protect herself and a guy tries to sexually assault her and she ends up killing the guy, no one would say, well, hold on, that girl shouldn't have been in there. That guy died and he shouldn't have died. No, you would say, okay, she shouldn't have been in there. That's wrong. Maybe she could even be charged for a fake ID or whatever. But if there was a legitimate use of self-defense, it was a legitimate use of self-defense.
Yeah, but I think
unfortunately,
yeah. I think we have some points of agreement and some of disagreement. I think it's a bad analogy, and I'll tell you why. If you just go into a bar with the intent to get a drink when you're 20 instead of 21, I think that that's both morally and practically different than going to some other state and taking up guns illegally. I think that the idea that both are ostensibly against the law, but thus anything that follows still has to be considered on a case-by-case basis is not. I don't think it's an equivalent. I don't think it's a good equivalency.
I don't think so. Do you think it's okay? Well, then this might just come down to then in that case, it really has nothing to do with the self-defense, or whatever. Maybe it just has to do with your personal stance on guns. Do you think it's okay to show up and defend a business if that business calls for help, for people to show up and defend a business against rioters? Or do you think that's immoral?
I think that the question in the abstract is not relevant to whether 17-year-olds crossing state lines and having guns illegally. David. That's different than an adult who is in the community and has the gun legally. I think they're two different things.
No. Before we talk about the specific situation, we need a fundamental understanding of how we feel about these moral issues.
I actually disagree. I think we should talk about that. I disagree with that because I think the way that people end up taking positions that in practice are misguided is by ignoring the facts and saying, let's go to first principles and a philosophical black hole about morality. I don't think that that's actually where we should be starting.
That is the only place to start. The reason why we have so many inconsistent, I'm just right. I'm sorry. Like you, in order to generate consistent answers on a case.
Oh, Stephen, you cut out there, but it sounded like you were saying that in order to have consistent answers in individual cases, you need to first have the sort of principles straight. But that's how a lot of these right wing. I think I love you, but I do think others would find it condescending for you to say you're just right. I mean that's we have a difference of opinion.
Sure. If you want to I'll stake $20,000 on this conversation with any academic in the world that knows anything about forming arguments for philosophy or morality. Like you have to have first principles before you go to practical application. Like if you were to study ethics, applied ethics is downstream from meta ethics and normative ethics. If you were to study political theory, all of it's going to be downstream.
Yeah.
What?
No. So
I'm just saying that any individual issue is going to be way downstream from like for instance, should we charge somebody with murder? Well, in order to know that, you have to know, is murder right or wrong? I don't know. Like, how do we consider what is right or wrong? Like you have by saying, is it okay for him to go across lines and get a gun? So what I'm trying to figure out when you say that, what I'm trying to figure out is, does David think that defending property is bad? Or does he think that defending property illegal is bad? Or does he think that defending property against certain people is bad? I don't know what your core principle that you're like appealing to is. That's why I'm asking these hypotheticals, because I don't know, when you say this is a bad thing, I'm trying to figure out why do you think it's a bad thing? And in order to know, hypothetical to figure it out. Because
oh boy.
In XYZ circumstances. Okay, well then let's XYZ circumstance. That's all I'm trying to figure out is why you think it's wrong or bad.
I gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think it's appearing as though my internet connection is not stable enough to really do this in the detail we want to do it in. But I guess where I would want to first start would be to explain that the idea of when is it okay to defend stuff is heavily connected to the context in which it's happening. And at the core, if I think of, is this, does a 17-year-old crossing state lines and illegally grabbing a gun to do these defenses, does that get the country in the direction I want it going in or not? That's where I would start. It wouldn't start with some vague, is it okay to defend stuff? It's like, sure, okay, it is, yeah.
Well, sure. Do you think riots get the country going in the direction that we want it to go?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do we think that telling people that they have to submit their property to destruction, to violent mobs, gets us in the direction that we want it to go?
Well, no. And at the same time, I'm worried that you are that you're referring to something specific, which I may not even be familiar with, in order to get a general answer.
I'm just asking, if there are rioters in your city, do you think that you are obligated to submit your property to their whims, that you have to stand by and watch your business burn in order to, do you think that furthers the country?
I don't think it does, but it has nothing to do with whether I should bring in 17-year-olds from other states to illegally have guns to help me.
What if 17-year-olds from other states are the only people that are willing to show up and defend your stuff?
Well,
and do you let it
then
burn?
we could talk about that, but that's certainly not the Stephen? Oh boy. Stephen, listen, when we get back, let me know when you can hear me again, Stephen.
I don't think that's what you care about. Because what I'm curious is if Kyle was 18, are you all of a sudden completely 180ing on this? Or you're just like, oh, well, actually, Kyle was 100% on the right.
No,
so if I tell you that Kyle was 17,
I also don't think 18-year-olds should be crossing state lines. And
so this is why I say we need to talk about first principles, because everything that you just said then is irrelevant. The fact that he's 17 doesn't matter to you. Even if he was 18, you still wouldn't like it. So then we need to talk about something else. Him being 17 is irrelevant.
But he is 17.
But that's not the reason why you think it's wrong.
You're saying if there was a different incident, might I also be opposed to it in that case? Sure, that's certainly possible.
But I'm trying to figure out why you're opposed to it here. You're saying, like, for instance, let's say somebody jaywalks, and I said, that guy jaywalking, that was wrong because he was a white guy that jaywalked. Mm-hmm. And then I say, well, wait, so if he was black, was it okay? And then you go, no, if he was black, it's wrong too. I was like, well, then why is the fact that he's a white guy jaywalking, why does that matter to you, right? But when you bring that up, it sounds like that's one of the qualifying reasons for why you're opponent. So when you say he was under 17 and he did all these things, like,
uh-oh, you just cut out.
Yeah,
you just cut out. Listen, I think that with the connection issues, it's hard for either of us to fully sort of express our points of view. But needless to say, it's like, it sounds like you and I maybe came to a different conclusion about the event, but it's like, it's not a huge deal. Like, I don't hate Steven or anything. And I think people are expecting some kind of fireworks or whatever, that it's just not really how I interact with people,
Yeah, no, you mean when shit is lagging?
Yeah, exactly. No. Hey, listen, Trump's about to start, so I'm going to let you go. My connection's a disaster anyway. Let's connect next week and really talk about this in detail.
Yeah, sure. If you want to, when your internet's better, yeah.
Cool. All right, man.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya. All right. Yeah, I apologize, guys. I'm doing the best I can. I know people are mad at me because of different things, but I'm really doing the best I can here. And we're gonna do our best as Donald Trump gets ready to start here. Before we get to that, I do have just a really small thing I have a favor to ask of you. I want you to help me with something. If you want to help me get a better internet connection, please consider grabbing a membership to my website, joinpacman.com. No, it's not about the internet connection, but in all seriousness, our number one funding source are people who sign up at joinpacman.com. You can see that above my head. The coupon code is 2020 now. It saves you 66%. If you hate me, if you hate this show, if you want to cancel me, then don't help. Don't sign up. It's easy. If you do like this and you believe that there's some value here, and most importantly, if you can afford a couple bucks a month, grab a membership at joinpacman.com. A bunch of people have, who I want to thank. David Ferrugia is new member number 3. Tristan Sargent is new member number 4. Susie Carlson is new member number 5. Yvette Meshksar is new member number 6 today. And these memberships are, all of these other things, YouTube and Twitch and all of this different stuff, those as revenue sources can be irregular. Membership is our funding source. Number one, let's go to Trump.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hurricane Sally made landfall, as you know, in Alabama and Florida last night as a Category 2 hurricane and has caused 35 inches of rainfall in some places. That's a lot.
A lot.
We have hundreds of FEMA, Coast Guard. We have the National Guard personnel on the ground assisting response to the efforts, and Alabama is in great shape, and every place that we are working with the state governments really in great shape. We are working very hard on that, but it looks like it's going to be mostly safe, but just follow the instructions of all of your local and federal people there. We have the best people that you can have. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for working so hard in Florida. And they're very good at this. The people in Florida handle it. They know how to handle it. And the people working there know how to handle it. The governors have all been spoken to. And it's a combination of real spirit and they have a tremendous esprit de corps.
Esprit de corps.
They have a tremendous sense of working on hurricanes. They've gotten very good at it. And we've certainly had plenty. Even since I've been here, we've had a lot of them. So that's in good shape, Hurricane Sally.
Everything's great.
We're going to talk about Big Ten football, but that's a terrific thing. We'll discuss that at the end. I just want to go into the vaccine distribution. Today, my administration released our detailed national vaccine distribution plan. And that includes a plan to ensure that we swiftly deliver the vaccine directly to America's senior citizens in nursing homes. And it's all set. We have our military lined up. Everybody's lined up.
Just need a vaccine.
And we think that's going to go very nicely. We're very close to that vaccine, as you know. And I think closer than most people want to say, or certainly closer than most people understand. To get the vaccine into the hands of American people, we're fully mobilizing the awesome power of American industry and also our military. This is the largest, fastest, and most advanced vaccine distribution effort in American history by far. I was reading where Biden was saying that, he's going to have a plan. They did so bad on swine flu, you wouldn't even believe it. Take a look at their record on swine flu. In fact, the person that headed it up said it was a total disaster. We're on track to deliver and distribute the vaccine in a very, very safe and effective manner. We think we can start sometime in October. So as soon as it is announced, we'll be able to start. That'll be from mid-October on, maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll be all set. So as soon as it's given the go-ahead, they're doing trials, as you know, and as soon as it's given the go-ahead, we will get it out, defeat the virus.
Soon he'll talk about Biden being anti-vax, right?
Supplies so that as soon as the FDA approves the vaccine, and as you know, we're very close to that, we'll be able to distribute at least 100 million vaccine doses by the end of 2020, and a large number much sooner than that. I'm calling on Biden to stop promoting his anti-vaccine theories.
There it is.
Because all
right on cue.
The importance of what we're doing, and I know that if they were in this position, they'd be saying how wonderful it is. They're recklessly endangering lives. You can't do that. And again, this is really a case that they're only talking, just started talking a little bit negatively, and that's only because they know we have it, or we will soon have it. And the answer to that is very soon. The case updates, it's very interesting to see what's happening because the test positivity rate is down among all age groups and has fallen below 5% for the first time since this whole nightmare of the China virus began. So it's fallen below 5%. The number of hospitalized patients has decreased by 43% from mid-July, 43%. Nationally, people sick with the China virus now make up only 1.5% of all emergency room visits. So we're down to the lowest number we've had. 1.5% of emergency room visits is for the China virus. And thanks to our life-saving therapies and treatments, I think this is the best of all in terms of our great percentages and all the progress we've made. The fatality rate has fallen 85% since April, 85% fatality rate. If you
Now, remember, that's case fatality rate relative to tests, so it's not really a reflection of how many people are dying.
this was right at the beginning. This was our prediction that if we do a really good job, we'll be at about 100,000 to 240,000 deaths, and we're below that substantially.
Guys, he was talking about 60K deaths months ago. He's now pretending all along the goal has been to be below 240. This guy's a liar.
5 million. I remember these numbers so well, and 2.2 million.
You're remembering them wrong.
That's quite a difference. So we're down in this territory. And that's despite the fact that the blue states had tremendous death rates. If you take the blue states out, we're at a level that I don't think anybody in the world
Yeah, if you take out old folks too.
level. But some of the states, they were blue states and blue state managed. And by the way, we would recommend they open up their states. I think
States are open. This is maybe the most dishonest we've seen him.
because
Which
if you
says a
look
lot.
at certain of them, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, we have to get those states open. It's hurting people. It's hurting people far more than the disease itself.
Wrong.
So we would recommend that you open them, let your people have freedom.
States are open.
And it's unfair to your people to keep them closed at this stage. We know the vaccine. We know the vaccines are coming, but we know the problem.
Trump doesn't seem to get it. Just because restaurants are open doesn't mean people are going to go. Like, the problem isn't that stuff is closed. Gyms are open in Massachusetts. Nobody's going. Indoor dining's open. Few people are going.
So open up your states to facilitate routine testing of the nursing home residents and staff. We've delivered rapid testing devices to all 13,850 certified nursing homes nationwide. So you have 13,850 certified nursing homes nationwide, and they are being facilitated in terms of testing and testing apparatus. Everything is there. We also have new tests coming, and we have one in particular that I think I showed last night.
Beautiful test.
Which is literally 2 pieces of very fine cardboard. It's actually a lot of delicate things going on inside that cardboard, but it's an incredible test. It's very quick, it's very accurate, and moves along rapidly. We've bought millions of those tests, and they're going to be distributed rapidly.
Send them out.
The testing process, where there's nobody in the world that has a testing process like ours. In addition to being number one, number two, which is India, is close to 50 million tests behind us, I believe, Scott. 50 million. They have
Scott
1.5
Atlas.
billion people. Tomorrow, Vice President Pence will be announced.
When Trump refers to Scott, that's Scott Atlas, who wants to see us go herd immunity. About 2.4 million people would die.
Our senior citizens, and we're going to take good care of them. I want to congratulate Big Ten football. It's back. And I want to, in particular, I've been dealing with him, thank Commissioner Kevin Warren for the great job he did. We've been working with him for a while. There was a rumor being
Notice how
spread
Trump does
I
that?
didn't want football back, and it was just the opposite. That was another disinformation rumor put out by the Biden campaign, and it was just the opposite, but it really spurred me into action. I called the commissioner a couple of weeks ago, and we started really putting a lot of pressure on, frankly, because there was no reason for it not to come back. And Kevin went in and worked very hard. I want to thank the players, the coaches for working along, and they wanted it very badly. The players and coaches in particular, the parents also. And Big Ten football just announced, as you know, that they're scheduled. They announced the schedule, and it's going to be great, important to have. I want to recommend that the Pac-12 also get going, because there's no reason why Pac-12 shouldn't be playing now. And perhaps they'll start with, at least partially, I had recommended today to Kevin and others that maybe you want to start off with 25% of the stadium, or maybe you want to start off with empty. I don't know. I think they could have fans go, frankly, but they want to be careful. They want to be safe, and they will be safe. They've got a very good testing process for the players, coaches, families, etc. And so I just want to congratulate Big Ten. It's going to be great. We're going to love watching that. And again, I want to recommend Pac-12. You're the only one now. Open up, Pac-12. Get going. Said the same thing to Big Ten, and they did.
Sports, right? That's what we need now.
You have time. You really have time right now. Get going. I want to thank all of those wonderful coaches, some of whom I spoke with. And we went through a process over the last couple of weeks, and I want to thank Congressman Anthony Gonzalez of Ohio, who, as you know, is a great football player. Some people know that. I know that. But Anthony was a great player, great receiver, went to the NFL. Also, I want to thank Tim Pataki of my staff. He worked very hard on this, and he was up day and night working with Kevin and everybody else. So I want to thank Tim Pataki. Great job. So Big Ten is back, and it's going to have hopefully a great season. The census recently found that in the second quarter of 2020, Hispanic Americans' home ownership reached a record all-time high. That's all-time in the history of our country. Yesterday, the census reported that median income for Americans increased by an unprecedented $4,400 last year to a record of $68,700. In 2019, income inequality fell for the second straight year. The income gap widened under the Obama-Biden administration, and it widened fairly substantially, and it narrowed under the Trump administration. So there's a little fact that you didn't know. So it narrowed under us, and it widened
little
under
factoid.
Obama. Income grew more last year alone than over the entire 8 years of Obama-Biden, and that's a big but that's the way it is. In 2019, 4.2 million Americans were lifted out of poverty. That's the largest poverty reduction under any president in history. 4.2 million Americans were lifted out of poverty. The Hispanic American poverty rate reached the lowest level ever, history of our country. Hispanic American poverty rate, lowest level ever. I created the greatest and fairest economy in history. The biggest gains went to lower income Americans. As they measure that kind of thing, we will be back to full strength very soon. We're going to have a fantastic year next year.
Yeah, Trump spent about 5 minutes on college football. Let's see, would be great to hear him talk about fires for a few minutes.
Quarter, we have numbers that we're going to put out tomorrow, some of the individual things, car production, housing ownership. So many different things are just at levels that nobody thought possible as we round the turn on the pandemic. The anti-police crusade from the Democrats and the radical left, and radical left Democrats also, has to stop. The left-wing war on cops puts our officers in danger and our communities at very grave risk.
He's off today.
Can't do this. Biden described the police as the enemy. They're not the enemy. They're the friend. They're our friend. They're helping us. And if you go to I just saw a poll just came out or recently came out where African Americans by 84% wanted more police. They wanted safe neighborhoods. In Phoenix last night, a federal officer was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. In LA this weekend, everybody saw that. This horrible human being, or whatever you might want to call him. They're looking all over. They're trying to find him. We're going to find out. We're going to get him. But in LA this weekend, 2 sheriff's deputies were ambushed and viciously shot, and they can never be the same. They're getting better, but they can never be the same. I'll always stand by our heroes of law enforcement, and we want to stop this horrible rhetoric and stop it fast. I want to ask Scott Atlas to say a couple of words.
Oh, no.
Because I heard Biden talking today about he wants to come up with a distribution plan, a distribution for the vaccine that we came up with.
Trump didn't come up with any vaccines. You know that.
It'll be announced fairly soon, but regardless, this month, next month, in a level of time that nobody thought was possible because of what we did with our FDA in terms of streamlining it. I want to thank Dr. Hahn, but what we've done with the streamlining has been incredible. And very safely. Number one is safety. Number two is speed. But you can have perfect safety and have much more speed, and that's what we did. We did this for more than the vaccine having to do with the China virus. This was also for other things.
Yeah.
So many other great drugs are out there that would take 10, 12 years to get them approved, and we've moved those schedules up.
I hope you guys know that there's a difference between an emergency use authorization and an actual approval. It's relevant distinction.
2-3 years before you were at a stage where we are now at. So we're going to be very soon, and it's sort of funny to watch Joe Biden getting up and reading a teleprompter and saying how he would have done this. They had H1N1. He calls it the N1H1. It's H1N1. It's called the swine flu, and it was a disaster. And as I said, the person that ran it for him said the worst things about it. I mean, just they didn't know what they were doing. They quit. They had no clue, and that was easy by comparison to this. This is the most contagious flu or virus that.
Uh-oh. Oh boy.
That anybody's seen. This is unbelievable how contagious. But we do indeed. Our military.
Oh God, the pictures.
We have everybody involved. It's a great plan, and it's a plan like no other. And we can start doing it, I believe, the day that we come up with the vaccine. When it's done, we'll start that same day or the day after. Our military is very much involved, and they deploy troops. These are the generals that do logistics and all of those things, and we'll have it all over the country.
Those are the generals he called pussies, according to Bob Woodward.
The vaccine, and it's very exciting. But maybe I'd ask Scott Atlas to come up and describe a little bit about that and the distribution plan in particular, because Biden acted as though there was no distribution plan, and we've been working on this for months, and it's ready, and Scott has really taken a hold of it and done an incredible job. And please, Scott, thank you.
Downer Trump today. Very down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And I didn't develop the plan. I'm just relaying information.
Yeah, and Trump didn't develop the vaccine either.
This is a plan that's a 57-page document that was sent to every state today. And there's a different part of this that was given to Congress today. It was released by HHS. It's on the website. And in fact, I thought it was covered actually by the media, so I don't think it's a surprise, but it's a comprehensive plan. It's a public-private partnership to get everything done in terms of logistics, the IT that's necessary to trace the first dose, because some of these vaccines are anticipated to be 2 doses. There's tailoring, of course, by the states and their specifics, and there's an administration of the vaccine plan that will be done in over 51,000 outlets, including for particular attention to minority areas, over 14,000 federally qualified health centers. And as the president just said, within the first 24 hours of FDA's approval under an emergency use, we will have vaccines being delivered within the first 24 hours.
Notice how Trump talks about approval. This guy actually feels compelled to throw in under emergency use, and that's why people are skeptical.
There will be, is it anticipated that no later than January, all the top priority people will have received the vaccine or be able to receive the vaccine. And so that kind of prioritization, which is the general prioritization done for all vaccines that are developed, particularly in a pandemic setting, goes to the high-risk people, the people with other underlying conditions, as well as first responders and people working directly in healthcare. And so that's going to be done very rapidly. Okay.
Good,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, earlier today, Dr. Redfield confirmed that it looked like November, December, the first doses would be able to be distributed. But then he said that the vaccine for the general public likely would not be available until probably next summer, maybe even early fall. Are you comfortable with that timeline?
No, I think he made a mistake when he said that.
Right.
It's just incorrect information. And I called him, and he didn't tell me that, and I think he got the message, maybe confused, maybe
He was
stated
confused.
incorrectly. No, we're ready to go immediately.
Just chalk it up to confusion, guys.
Announced, and it could be announced in October, could be announced a little bit after October. But once we go, we're ready. As you know, Pfizer's making this, they're taking a tremendous financial risk, and they're spending billions of dollars on actually making this vaccine. They're in a stage where they're actually making it because they feel very confident as to the results. They'll be announcing their results fairly soon. And no, that's incorrect information.
He was pretty clear in the way he
Yeah,
said it.
well, I think so, but I don't think he means that. I don't think when he said it, I believe he was confused. I'm just telling you, we're ready to go as soon as the vaccine happens.
Guys, we've got everything's good. The guy running the CDC was just confused.
Yeah, we will start distributing it immediately to the general public very shortly. Really to the general public immediately. When we go, we go. We're not looking to say, gee, in 6 months we're going to start giving it to the general public. No, we want to go immediately. No, it was an incorrect statement. I saw the statement. I called him. I said, what did you mean by that? And I think he just made a mistake. He just made a mistake.
But what
I think
did he say?
Misunderstood the question, probably.
So if you were to put a timeline on when every person in America will be able to get a vaccine, what would that date be?
I think it would be very soon. I think our
Soon,
distribution process is going to go very quickly.
This is how you know he's lying.
The military, we have a general who's in charge of all logistics, who delivers soldiers. He's fantastic.
Delivers soldiers. 12 soldiers, please, all men. Oh, yeah, 2 day.
Company you're going to hire. You can't hire a company like that. And we look to do distribution immediately after we get the word that it's good. And I think they're having tremendous success with the vaccine itself. I think the results will be early and strong. The safety has to be 100%, and we're going to insist on that. And obviously, the companies are going to insist on that also.
So could you put an actual date, like January, February, March?
Scott, what would you think?
Yeah, as I said, the high priority people will have in sometime no later than January. I mean, of course, it depends on when things are approved and the emergency use is given.
I'm talking about the
I
low
understand.
priority
Yeah,
people.
I can finish. And then it's anticipated there will be 700 million doses by end of Q1. That's 700 million doses.
So by the end of March.
That's end of Q1.
Dr. Atlas, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Q1, he said.
Right. Yeah, that's the end of March, right?
It's one thing to have the doses, but we've talked to a lot of public health
Q1 of which year?
happening in the winter, and you have to socially distance. You can't have the packed lines that we saw during H1N1. You can't have packed auditoriums. You have to space it out. So that's one thing. Another thing they're worried about is storing these vaccines. And since we don't know,
These people are such liars. It's unbelievable.
doctors' offices may not have dry ice to handle negative 80 degrees. So these are challenges. Are you prepared to say that you can overcome all those in 3 months?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because at least I've been briefed on the vaccine, okay? And so all the refrigerators that are necessary, everything is going to be in place for this.
Ooh.
There's a very detailed logistical plan that was started months ago. And you're welcome to read it on the web, but basically, those things are not a problem really. I mean, if people know how to shop for groceries or go into a store or sit in the restaurants that are open and use social distancing, I think they can do it for vaccines too.
And you also have more than one company. You have Johnson & Johnson, you have Pfizer, you have Moderna, you have others. So we could conceivably have vaccines being given out by numerous companies, and they're all world-class companies. They're fantastic companies. That could happen also. Okay? Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you prepared to sign off on the Oracle and TikTok deal even though the Treasury isn't getting paid? And also, does the deal meet your requirements in terms of national security concerns?
Okay,
Remember, Trump wanted like $40 million from that deal or something.
As far as national security is concerned. And no, I'm not prepared to sign off on anything. I have to see the deal. We need security, especially after what we've seen with respect to China and what's going on. We want security. So I'll let you know. They're going to be reporting to me tomorrow morning, and I will let you know.
And what about the payment? What about the payment to the Treasury?
Well, we're going to see about that. Amazingly, I find that you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to accept when I say, what kind of a government?
That thing Trump's been talking about for months, taking a cut of a deal between two private companies. Turns out you're not allowed to do that. Who knew?
There's no legal path to doing that. And I'm saying, wait a minute. They're willing to make a big payment to the government, and we're not allowed to take the money. When does this happen? How foolish can we be? So we're looking into that right now. You understand that?
Sounding like socialism, guys.
Chunk of that money to go to the United States government because we made it possible. And the lawyers come back to me and they say, well, there's no way of doing that.
That's right.
You know why? Because nobody's ever heard of that before.
Well, socialist countries have.
Nobody's ever said, well, we'll approve the deal, but we want a lot of money to go to the government.
Mob bosses have.
Making the deal valuable. They've never heard of that before. Okay? Can you believe that, right?
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Yeah, please go ahead.
A quick follow-up on TikTok. You had said earlier that it was really important to you that a U.S. company buy TikTok, and according to the proposal submitted by ByteDance, ByteDance would keep a majority stake and Oracle would have a minority
Well, we're going to
stake.
find out about that. We're looking into that from the standpoint of ByteDance. We don't like that. I mean, just
It's too
conceptually,
good.
I can tell you I don't like that.
It's too good.
That has not been told to me yet. That has been reported, but it hasn't been told to me. It could be very accurate reporting for a change. So if that's the case, I'm not going to be happy with it. Assuming that ByteDance is China, which I think it probably is, yeah? Yeah, in the back, let's go there.
Thanks, Mr. President. Bill Barr told prosecutors that he wants to charge violent demonstrators with sedition. And you told Judge Deneen that if there's violent demonstrations on election night, we'll put them down very quickly if they do that. Look, it's called an insurrection. So I'm wondering why you want to use that kind of rhetoric when there's such a
Well, the
volatile
question was
situation.
asked to me about if you have violent demonstrations. Yes, we will put it down very, very quickly if there is. Absolutely.
Are you making
And I
plans?
think the American public wants to see that. Yeah, OAN, please.
Uh-oh, here we go. OAN.
OAN, yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. With
No, just to
regards,
finish, look, if there's any kind of demonstration or violence, there will be nothing that interferes with this this vote. There's going to be
Product.
nothing. The biggest
Just the
problem we
product.
have right now are the ballots. Millions of ballots going out. That's the biggest problem. When you talk about other countries, whether it's China, Russia, or many others that get mentioned, they're in a much better position with these paper ballots to do something than they would ever be under the old system. And that's our biggest problem. Our biggest threat to this election is governors from opposing parties controlling ballots, millions of ballots. To me, that's a much bigger threat than foreign countries, because much of the stuff coming out about foreign countries turned out to be untrue. What is true is that many elections have taken place over the last year and a half using this ballot system. They've been off by 5%, 10%, 15%. I think I read one at 40%. And these are small, easy to control elections. This whole ballot system where you can send it in and it's not even requested. We're not talking about it solicited. They're unsolicited ballots and they're sent in is very dangerous for our country. And you know who knows that better than anybody? The Democrats. Look at what happened in Manhattan, where they had this kind of an election.
Remember, there's no fraud even alleged in that election.
That it should never have been allowed to be called. We could have 5, 10, 15, 20% off. We could have more than that. The ballots will be stolen. Who knows where they're going?
Right.
Who knows where they're coming from? Just the counting of the ballots, which, by the way, which will take forever. It'll take forever. You think November 3rd? You might not have, I guess at a certain point it goes to Congress. You know, at a certain point it goes to Congress.
That wouldn't be until January. You're going to have 4 days, you'll have the election results. And who cares? I'd rather have the right results.
It's going to be fraud all over the place.
Fraud.
Who's getting the ballots? Who's sending the ballots? They have people saying you don't need a verified signature. This is a serious threat to our democracy. And the Democrats know that. All we're asking, if you solicit the ballot, you go through a process. You ask for a ballot because you can't be there for a large number of reasons. For whatever I'm doing it myself.
We know.
I won't be able to be in Florida.
Right.
You solicit and they send it back. You do it and you send it back. That's a process that you go through, and it's pretty secure. I use the word pretty secure. I guess nothing's foolproof. But what's pretty close to what the most foolproof thing, the thing that really works, is you go to the ballot box. It's going to be very safe. I think by that time, COVID will be even lower. It's going to be very low. It's going to be a very safe process. We did it during World War I. We did it during World War II. The biggest threat to this election is these
huge numbers of mail-in ballots during World War I, actually. If anything, World War I proves our case, not his.
Like in Nevada, who is a political person, very political, but far beyond being governor, where they tried to stop you from making a speech unsuccessfully, but we had to move around a lot, had to move quickly. So this same guy that tried to stop you from making free speech outside, not inside,
free speech.
outside. They forced us inside because of what they did, but outside. This is the guy that's controlling ballots. Then you look at Pennsylvania, you look at other places, it is a big threat. And as far as China is concerned, and Russia, and they say North Korea, they say Iran, they say places. Who knows? Who knows? But they say all these different places. They can make forgeries of these ballots.
Forgeries?
They can do things that will blow your mind. And the Democrats know it's wrong. They know it's going to end up being a disaster. Just take a look at what's happened. Take a look at what's happened over the last year with this same kind of thing, except
What's he talking about?
with very few ballots going out. So that's much easier. Not 53 to 80 million going out. A very small number. And you know what's happened? Fraud like you've never seen.
Fraud.
Missing ballots, ballots that never showed up, ballots with bad signatures, ballots with no signatures. And in the case of Nevada, they don't even want verification of this.
I think signatures is my favorite.
The hope for our nation is it's before judges. In Pennsylvania, it's before judges. In Nevada, it's before judges.
Well, ultimately, I predict Donald Trump is going to try to sue to stop the counting of absentee ballots starting on November 4th. So it could end up back before judges. And that's why Biden's got to mount the legal team that he's mounting, as I suggested he do.
Is closing it. And they're closing it for political reasons. It'll open on November 4th. It'll open up right after the election.
No.
But they want they want our numbers to be as bad as possible. But the problem is our numbers are so good, with or without various states opening up, with or without. But we had a big legal victory, as you know, 3 days ago. A federal judge told them to open up their state. It's unconstitutional what you're doing. That's in the case of Pennsylvania. Now the big cases are going to be the cases on these unsolicited ballots, and we'll see what happens. All right, OAN, please.
Here we go.
On the grounds that the Chinese Communist Party has been using slave labor in Xinjiang, your administration has imposed a limited ban on certain products coming out of Xinjiang, stopping short of a full region ban. What is your response to the Chinese Communist Party's spokespeople who are saying that this is an outright lie, Xinjiang does not have forced labor? And number two, have allies expressed interest in standing with this administration in taking action against forced labor imposed by the Communist
We don't
Party?
want to see that. We've been very strong on that. We're getting reports in over the next 2-3 days. We'll know very accurately what the story is, and we'll then take action one way or the other.
Yes, I just wanted to ask you about the WTO's recent ruling against the United States over $200 billion in tariffs on China. Should the U.S. remain part of the...
Let's maybe just switch to our other feed where we can see the reporters. It might be better.
See that? We've been very strong on that. We're getting reports in over the next 2-3 days. We'll know very accurately what the story is, and we'll then take action one way or the other.
Yes, I just wanted to ask you about the WTO's recent ruling against the United States over $200 billion in tariffs on China. Should the U.S.
Oh, guess they're not cutting to the reporters.
remain part of the WTO?
Well, I have real questions about it. Look, the U.S., we just won a $7.5 billion lawsuit, which nobody used to sue before I came along, you know. Well, they used to lose them every single time. Now they haven't been losing them. But we're getting reports on the WTO. It's not good. Never been good to us. The WTO, as far as I'm concerned, was created to suck money and jobs out of the United States to the benefit of China and other countries. That's what my opinion is. Whether it was created or it just turned out to be that way. But the World Trade Organization has been not good for the United States. It's been good for everybody else, but it's not been good. It was a method, in my opinion, of taking advantage of the United States. So we're looking into what happened, and we'll get back to you fast.
Two questions. One, you said you spoke with Dr. Redfield earlier, and you said that he made a mistake.
I think he made a mistake. Yeah, I didn't go into.
But did he say it?
I was very surprised to hear it. It doesn't really matter. Here's what does matter. We're all set to distribute immediately. As soon as that vaccine comes out that's safe and good and works, whether it's Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, or anybody else, we are ready to distribute it very rapidly, as Scott said, and as our team knows, and they're ready. And that could be it could be in October, sometime in October or November. I don't think it's going to be much later than that, but I think it could be sometime in October. We're ready to move, and it'll be a very full distribution.
So y'all had the call, and you said that you told him that he had made a mistake. What was his response?
No, I didn't tell him anything. I said, what happened? And I got the impression that he didn't realize he said what he might have said. I didn't see him say it.
What an
But if
explanation.
that's what he said, it's a mistake, because here's, sir, ready? we're ready to distribute immediately to a vast section of our country and then beyond.
Unintelligible.
Because we want to help other countries also.
Unintelligible.
We're ready to distribute immediately.
But the timeline that he gave, saying that it wouldn't be ready for the general public until the middle of next year, sounds very like the one that you kind of just offered.
No, I said that there'll be 700 million doses by end of Q1, and everyone in high risk will have it sometime, no later than January.
Yeah, he was talking,
That's
he
what
said
I
the
said.
general public for
No,
next
well,
year.
we are
He wasn't
focused.
talking about high risk,
As you know,
healthcare,
Caitlin, we're focused on high risk, but we're going to focus also on general public very much. But our immediate aim is elderly people, and especially elderly people with.
I'd love for someone to actually say Q1 of which year.
We're not looking at a small distribution program. We're looking at distributing to the whole United States with an immediate focus of the elderly. Now, under no circumstance will it be as late as the doctor said, but I think that,
Which
frankly,
doctor?
if he analyzes, they hit him with that question. He said that we are ready at a much faster level than what he said. We will have rapid distribution. We're set up, our military and others are set up to do it. And we think it could even start taking place in October, but certainly during November, December would be the latest, because based on what we're hearing, based on what I'm hearing, results are very good. So we'll see what happens.
Question is, you told Bob Woodward the problem with a vaccine is a vaccine will take 13 to 14 months once you have it, because you have to test a vaccine. So do you want to clarify?
Well, what I was saying to him, no, that was a long time ago when I said that. We weren't set up at that time. Well, how many months ago? When was the statement made?
He doesn't say in the
His
when
book
it was
is sort of
made.
obsolete because the book
She said 13 to 14 months when we have it.
very rapidly because it was very boring. I read it, and if you see what I said a lot of really good things. I mean, for the most part, people like to turn it around, but I said really good things in that book. And as an example, he doesn't cover. I told him what we're doing in the Middle East.
Oh, no.
And we're doing it in an entirely different way, and that's not covered in his book. The whole thing isn't covered in his book. And one thing I will say, and I respect the press for this one, which was interesting, almost universally we've been praised for the deal that we made yesterday with Israel and with, the two very important countries in the Middle East. In particular, where it's a very powerful group. It's a warrior country. It's led by a great warrior and a man who's highly respected. And if you take a look at that and Bahrain and Israel making a deal, and I will tell you, we have at least 4 or 5 others that want to come in. They would have come in yesterday. I talked to 2 of them yesterday, and they're ready to trot. And I think you're going to have a whole level of peace without blood all over the sand. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed.
So
killed
peaceful.
Hundreds of thousands of people in the Middle East. It's been.
Now, you might be saying, what problem was there between Israel and UAE? And that would be a beautiful question to ask.
The world. And it didn't have to be that way. The single worst decision our country ever made was to go into the Middle East. Not only the millions of people killed, and I include people on both sides. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't say that. I said, I'll say it on both sides. Such a horrible thing was done. Such a horrible mistake was made.
Horrible.
We're doing this a different way. So we have those 2 countries. We have at least 5 that we're negotiating with right now. And, you can only negotiate with so many. I think they're all going to come in. I think ultimately the Palestinians
Too many
are going to come in.
negotiations.
These are all the people that are funding them. I stopped funding the Palestinians fairly early on because they were saying bad things about our country. I said, we're giving them $750 million a year, and they're saying all bad things about our country. So I stopped funding them very early on. But they get funded by other very rich countries. To them, it's like a speck. It's nothing. But they get funded, and but I think now that these countries, these very rich countries, are part of the deal, and you'll see over the next fairly short period of time,
Very short
other
period.
countries will come in. I think Saudi Arabia ultimately will come in too. I think getting Saudi Arabia will be great, but I think Saudi Arabia, this is my feeling, it's not based on knowledge other than a couple of conversations I had with the king. But Saudi Arabia, I think, will be coming.
Listen, I've seen some interviews with Saudi royals recently. I'm not seeing anybody too ready to recognize Israel's mere existence. Never mind, do whatever Trump is imagining.
Smart people. I went to some people in the Middle East, and they said, you'll never be able to do it. It's not possible to make peace. Well, now they're saying to me, Nobody ever thought of doing this. They all thought.
Yeah, well, because these were two countries that were doing okay.
And I will say the resistance was some countries didn't want to do it unless the Palestinians were there first. That was just a psychological thing more than anything else.
Psychology.
The people, our great representatives that have been doing this for 35 years that were telling me how to do it, but they all failed. They were in Clinton's administration, they were in Bush, they were in Obama, all these great, brilliant people. They're all telling me how to do it, and I said they're wrong, and I guess I was right. And when you see, let's finish this. When you see the countries that will be coming, a very short period of time, not talking a long period of time, all of the countries that will be coming in, just like you saw Bahrain yesterday, and UAE, and I can think of, at least 5 that are going to be quick and easy. Others will be quick and easy also once the 5 comes.
It's like the fast food equivalent of a peace deal.
A peace in the Middle East, and we want to get out. Our soldiers are largely coming home. I said the endless wars, the ridiculous endless wars, and I will say this: if I didn't withdraw our country from that horrible Iran nuclear deal, that horrible, stupid deal, where President Obama paid $150 billion for nothing and gave $1.8 billion in cash. 1.8 billion.
Cash.
You know what that is? 1.8 billion in cash. That's
Cash.
more impressive than the 150 billion paid normally. But he gave all this money, all of these chips that we had. We had these chips, and he gave them all over, and we got nothing. And it was a short-term deal. It would be practically expiring now. It starts to expire actually right now, but it would practically be. And there is no way we will let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Just remember that. There's no way that's going to happen.
Are you reversing this statement? You never answered a statement. I'll just let go of this, but do you want to reverse what you told Woodward about the 13 to 14 month timeline for a vaccine?
Well, the vaccine at the time, I thought it might take that period of time, but we've stepped it up very substantially. And now, I'm just telling you, this is just what it is. We've been able to step it up very, very rapidly. I never thought we could have a vaccine as quickly as we did, but I freed it up. I freed up the FDA. Dr. Hahn's done a great job.
What he means is he's encouraged them to approve things that aren't ready.
The other thing that's happening that's very different is you look at a company like Pfizer, a great company, really one of the great companies of the world, Johnson & Johnson, they're all great companies. They're doing a lot of testing at a very rapid rate that nobody's ever seen anything like it. They're out in the third level of trial. And,
the third level of trial. We call it phase 3 in the medical world.
That are amazing. When I made statements like that, that's an old statement. When I made statements like that, I had no idea that we could produce as well as we're producing. But only because of what I've done with the FDA and other things can we come up with numbers like that. We're lucky that we don't have to, because that was considered fast. If this were an administration from the past, and I think I can say far beyond Obama, if it was other administrations also, you wouldn't have a vaccine for 2.5, 3 years. And we're going to have a vaccine within, at most, a couple of months. Okay?
John? Mr. President, if I could ask you about coronavirus relief, do you support the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal that was put forward? Are you comfortable with the $500
something like that?
Whatever happened
like
with the second
I like the
stimulus?
larger amount. I've said that. Some of the Republicans disagree, but I think I can convince them to go along with that because I like the larger number. I want to see people get money. I want to see, it wasn't their fault that this happened. It was China's fault, People say, oh, maybe you shouldn't say that. That's not nice. It was China's fault. So I'd like to see the larger number. Yeah, I would like to see it. There are some things I disagree with, but I'm sure they can be negotiating. Now, I heard Nancy Pelosi said she doesn't want to leave until we have an agreement. She's come a long way. That's great. If she said that, she's come a long way. I agree with her. We should have an agreement. People should be helped, and they should be helped as rapidly as possible. And I think it's going to happen. I think it's very important. So the Problem Solvers came up with, it's a group of people in Congress, as you know.
People.
You know them all. I know them all. They're very good people. I guess you'd consider them. But in many cases, they're not. They're left, they're right, but they came up with this idea. And I think they're well on their way to suggesting some pretty good things. Yeah.
So in terms of
I agree with a lot of it.
In terms of things that you don't agree, are you comfortable with the $500
I think the things I don't agree, we can probably negotiate. But I think we've made some progress over the last week. And I think it was positive that they came out with that report.
Just to button this up, would you endorse that proposal?
Well, not that a proposal, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer. I do like a lot of money getting sent to people that really were hurt unnecessarily by China because they could have stopped it. They stopped it from going into their country. They could have stopped it from coming to our country and from going to Europe and from going to the rest of the world, 188 different countries from all over the world, please.
Mr. President, the director of the CDC also testified today that a mask, in his estimation, is guaranteed to protect the American public more from the coronavirus than a vaccine. You have, as detailed, poured a lot of resources into a vaccine development. Why not devote your energy?
And to masks.
Why not devote your energy now to a campaign to have all Americans wear a mask, something that, if more effective than a vaccine, would also help schools and the economy?
Okay, number one, it's not more effective by any means than a vaccine, and I called him about that. Those were the two
called him
things
about
I
that
discussed
too.
with him.
A lot of phone calls.
And I believe that if you ask him, he would probably say that he didn't understand the question. Because I said to him, I asked him those two questions.
This Redfield guy doesn't understand a damn thing, according to Trump.
And I was inaccurately covered because I was on with George last night, George Stephanopoulos, and I enjoyed it. I think people enjoyed it. I got, a lot of people said very good things about the show. I hope they did well, but they said a lot of good things about the show, but they always cut my sentences off. They cut it off. On masks, masks have problems too. About the masks have to be handled very gently, very carefully. I see that
they could explode if mishandled.
And they're playing around with their mask, and they have it. Their fingers are in their mask, and then they're serving with plates. I mean, I think there's a lot of problems with masks. No, vaccine is much more effective than the masks, and if we get the vaccine, we have added to the fact that our numbers are going way down. You see the numbers. I'm just reading you statistics that are from wherever they get them, but they're very highly qualified statistics. But no, the mask is not as important as the vaccine. The mask perhaps helps. Don't forget, a lot of people didn't like the concept of masks initially. Dr. Fauci didn't like them, and a lot of people didn't. And I'm not knocking anybody because I understand both sides of the argument. But when I called up I said to him, what's with the mask? He said, I think I answered that question incorrectly. I think maybe he had misunderstood it. I mean, you have two questions. Maybe he misunderstood both of them.
Right.
But the answer to the one is it's going to be a much faster distribution than he said. Maybe he's not aware of the distribution process. It's not really his thing as much as it would be, let's say, mine. But the distribution is going to be much faster. As far as the mask is concerned, I hope that the vaccine is going to be a lot more beneficial than the masks because people have used the masks. But when I looked at that chart that we put up, if you look, we're right. If you do the good job, they had, I guess, 240,000. But if you do the good, if it worked out well. Now, look, one death is too much. One death is too much. Should have never happened. But the lower level was at that 240,000, between 100 and something and 240,000.
It was 60, he said.
As far as the mask is concerned, he made a mistake.
But on the masks, I mean, perhaps they are part of the role for the decrease in cases because they are effective, as you just said. So I know you've warned.
No, they may be effective. Sure. And I wear them when I'm in a hospital or when I'm in a setting with a lot
of... My question is, why not wear it more often or have the White House staff wear it more often to set an example for the country?
Well, I'm tested, and I'm sometimes surprised when I see somebody sitting and, like with Joe. Joe feels very safe in a mask. I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to expose his face. I don't know what's going on. He'll be way away from people. Nowhere near
it's
people.
Called leadership.
There'll be nobody with him. He doesn't draw any crowds.
Setting
so
an
have
example.
Circles, these big circles. They'll be way far away. There's no reason for him to have masks on. We get tested. I'm tested. I have people tested. When people come into the Oval Office, it's like a big deal. No matter who they are, the heads of countries, they all get tested. So I'm in sort of a different position. And maybe if I wasn't in that position, I'd be wearing it more. But I've worn masks, and especially I like to wear them when I'm in hospital. Not for me so much as for other people. Okay? Thanks.
Mr. President, can I ask you about... I have two questions, Mr. President. One for Dr. Atlas. Dr. Atlas, you mentioned minorities would be the first focus of the distribution. How would that exactly work in practice when
Did he
it's
say that?
distributed specifically to minorities?
I didn't hear him say that.
Well, he didn't say minorities. He said minorities and senior citizens, yeah.
Oh, sure. But can you talk us through a bit more on the
Did he
focus
say
on
minority? I didn't hear him say that.
minorities and how that would work? And then for you, Mr. President, you mentioned the drop in the poverty rate.
Specifically, we noticed at Just the News that the poverty rate for African Americans hit historic lows, that the household wealth increased historically for African Americans. What was driving that increase in wealth for African Americans? And now in 2020, with
This is like North Korea, guys. At this point, is these staged questions, sycophants from the back.
Question. I appreciate your question, and yeah, we've had a tremendous drop in poverty for all people in our nation, but in particular for African Americans, and that statistic came in, and it's because the African American community, the black community, has had the best employment numbers that we've ever had, both employment and unemployment, depending on how you want to define it. But we've had the best employment numbers we've ever had. Now, we had the employment in the country ever, almost 160 million people. We've never been close to that number, but we were just 6 months ago. And I'm very proud of the numbers. African Americans, Hispanic Americans, they had the best numbers they've ever had by far, both employment and unemployment, depending on definition. Thank you very much for that question. Scott, you want to answer that?
To clarify, I said that the first prioritization is the high-risk people and frontline healthcare workers. But just to reiterate what I said, there are 51,000 outlets for distribution, for vaccination. And there's over 14,000 federally qualified health centers that are particularly targeted to minority and low-income areas. So that's a focus. I want to point out two other things. We're also prioritizing testing to historically black colleges and universities, and we're in the process of getting that finalized because we know that there's higher morbidity in certain ethnic groups. And the last thing I would say is it's an egregious abuse of the media to instill fear into people about taking a vaccine, because there is no shortcut here. Everything is safe, everything is effective, and for people who have particularly an influence.
This guy's saying, even though I'm a herd immunity advocate, trust me.
Is a particularly outrageous abuse of public policy and of leadership. These are people that have higher risk. And so I implore everyone who's in a high risk category that when we get a safe, effective vaccine, they should take the vaccine.
I will say this is a phenomenon that only happened when they realized that we may very well have the vaccine prior to a certain very important date, namely November 3rd. Once they heard that, the Democrats started, just to show you how bad.
No, it started when Trump said we might push this out via emergency use authorization.
Information, just like they put an ad in about football, just like they put, with respect to me, I'm the one that got football back. And I was always against them going out. It was ridiculous, that Big Ten. And now hopefully Pac-10 goes back. And I say that just like, even worse, they put out a totally fake ad, totally made up story. It was a made up story by a third-rate magazine where the head guy, I guess the head person, I have no idea who he is, I don't know him, but he's friends with Obama and Clinton. So they made up this horrible story, and then they did ads. Well, they made up this story too. This story is very simple. They started knocking the vaccine as soon as they heard that this actually may come out prior to election. Now, it may or may not, but it'll be within a matter of weeks. It'll be within a matter of weeks from November. It's ready to go, and it's ready for massive distribution to everybody, with a focus again on seniors. And I will say also the historically black colleges and universities, we are doing, at my suggestion, because they have had a difficult problem there, we are doing more testing there and finer testing. We have our great apparatus there. But when you look at what we've done on testing in terms of the technology and the amount, it's been really amazing. In fact, I think we're going to crack 100 million tests very soon in the very near future. We're going to be cracking 100 million tests. Now, what that does do is it shows up more cases. If we didn't test, we wouldn't have cases. You would have no cases. Other countries, they don't test, they don't have cases.
Beautiful.
And then they say, oh, the United States. Well, but we're proud of it because it shows where there may be a problem and it helps people. But we're doing tremendous testing at the historically black colleges and universities, and that was a suggestion I made, and I think it's a good suggestion. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. The core of Vice President Biden's argument is that you don't trust the scientists, you don't listen to them. And here up on the podium today, you're twice contradicting the director of your own CDC on the
Beautiful.
science who testified before Congress today.
No, he's contradicting
Why should the
himself.
American people-
I think he misunderstood the questions.
Well, he was testifying under
You know what I
oath. Why
think?
should
I
the
think he
American
misunderstood. I told you, I don't have to go through this. I think he misunderstood the questions, but I'm telling you, here's the bottom line. Distribution is going to be...
If your CDC director can't even understand questions about the things he's working on every day, you've got a problem with your CDC director, right?
Distribution is going to be very rapid, and the vaccine is going to be very powerful. It's going to solve a tremendous problem.
Powerful.
It's going to be very powerful.
The American people trust you on the pandemic when you're contradicting the head of the CDC and your
Because
own
of the great
administration.
job we've done. Because of the great things we've done in other fields also. Because of the fact that we created ventilators. We built ventilators by the thousands, and now we're supplying to the world. Because of all of the incredible work we've done for governors who are on every call saying, this is incredible, this is great, this is great. Sometimes they're not quite as friendly at a news conference when you have people covering it. But we have done a phenomenal job on COVID-19, as they like to call it. I call it other things. But we have done a phenomenal job. I get calls from other people in other countries. They can't believe the job we've done. And then they'll say, is there any way that you could get us ventilators? I say, how many do you need? 1,000 ventilators. I said, we'll be able to take care of it. We're making thousands of ventilators, very complex, very expensive, very difficult thing to make. We're making thousands a month. The cupboard was bare when I got here. And I will tell you, our distribution is going to be very rapid and it's going to be all-encompassing. We are going to have a focus on certain groups that have problems, senior citizens, etc. But it's a very powerful. It's going to be a very powerful distribution. It's going to cover everybody, and it's going to cover them rapidly. I don't know whether or not the doctor knows that, how much he covers, but I called him.
Uh-oh.
Because I said, why did you say that long? He wasn't that aware of it. And the other one was the mask. The vaccine is going to have tremendous power. It's going to be extremely strong. It's going to be extremely successful. We're not going to have a problem. And the mask may help, and I hope it helps. I think it probably does. But again, the mask is a mixed bag. There are some people, professionals, Scott, you would know a lot of them, but there are some people that don't like the mask because of the touchiness and the touching, and then you're touching everything else. They feel that masks have problems. So anyway, go ahead in the back, please.
Mr. President, do you have confidence in Dr. Redfield?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you just said he keeps getting answers.
Well, he gave you some answers.
Questions.
He sort of, I think, maybe misunderstood a question, but we're beyond that now. We're really in final stages of vaccines. We're getting ready to go phase 1 on distribution, and I think it may come out even sooner than you think. I think the vaccine's going to be even better than people thought originally. I think people are going to be really surprised at the success of the vaccine. I think it's going to be a tremendous success.
Shocked. And
we're fighting a very powerful party with a poor candidate, in my opinion, but we're fighting a very, very powerful party, and they're partners with the media, and because they're working together very closely, and they only started hitting on the vaccine. When they hit on the vaccine, they only hit on it when they realized that, wow, this is amazing. They may have it even before the election. All of a sudden, they didn't like the vaccine so much. Yeah, in the back, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Were you informed about positive coronavirus cases in the White House today?
I cannot hear you, I'm sorry.
Were you informed about coronavirus cases, positive cases in the White House today?
About today?
Yes.
On your staff.
On your staff.
Cases today, sir.
Yeah.
Say it.
On your staff.
Reports of White House staff members testing positive.
Oh, I see. About staff? You mean?
Yeah.
I heard about it this morning at a very small level. Yes, I heard about it this morning. I don't know. We can have a report to you if you feel it's necessary. But it's a small. It's last night I heard about it for the first time.
Oh, you said this morning.
It's a small number of cases. Maybe it's not even cases. Do you know? Do you have any idea if there's?
Yes, we're not going to confirm the identities of the.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes, but it did not affect the event, and press was not around the individual.
And it's not anybody that was near me.
Most importantly.
From what I heard, a very small number. I think you can probably give the number out later on when you find out what it might be. One person? It was one person. Okay?
In Philadelphia?
It was one person. So not too much, not a person that I was associated with.
Most important.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There it is. And Donald Trump will sort of stalk his way out of the room of another one of these very, very belligerent press conferences. Listen, if you're heading out and you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, helping us work our way to 1.1 million subscribers. If you're watching on Twitch, hit that follow button. We are just shy of 50,000 followers on Twitch. And remember to grab your memberships at joinpacman.com. We did get 27 people. If you can look at that beautiful number. That 7 is a beautiful number. Nice digit. 27 people signed up. We love to see even more. I'll see you guys very soon.